Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Cory Simpson. It's great to be with you and to be here for the Public Sector Summit on Cyber Resilience and Government, presented by Rubric and produced by Cyber News Group. Excited today to have a panel on defending against AI-based attacks. Before we get into that, a little bit about the Institute for Critical Infrastructure Technology. We're a national organization, 50,000 members, and we're focused on critical infrastructure that provides for foundational need, making it modern, secure, and resilient by design. We're lucky to be joined today by three experts who bring various perspectives and sit at various vantage points on the issues at hand. We'll be joined by Anil Chaudhry, who's a senior advisor for AI with the U.S. government, with Matt Isnor, who's the director of workforce development at the office or the CIO office, the Department of War, and then also with by Kent Meyer, a managing director at Deloitte. Thank you all for being here. And now I'll turn it over to Neil first to give you a little background, and then we'll go Neil, Matt, and Kent for just a little bit about who you are and where you're coming from and a little bit of your background.
Corey, really glad to be here. Just enjoy company of experts and like yourself. As background, I've been in the government federal side for about 15 years, multiple different roles at different departments. To include primarily now AI assurance work and making and looking at 3 to 5 years out in how the government is going to evolve its processes, its tools, its techniques in response to artificial intelligence and its use in cybersecurity. And with that, I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
Yeah. Matt?
Thank you, Cory. And it's a pleasure to be here. So I appreciate the time to talk to everyone today. As Cory kind of mentioned, my name is Matt Isnor. I work at the Department of War CIO, Workforce Development. Been in the government / military for over 2 decades. Worked over a decade at Cyber Command and NSA, working on the stand-up of the various things like Cyber Mission Force and areas for building what the capabilities of that unit can ultimately do. And now up at the CIO office, working on the policies and strategies to really codify the workforce, the people, the capabilities, the work roles that they can ultimately be able to do from a day-to-day basis. So really, really excited to have this discussion today and look forward to it.
Yeah, Matt, thank you. Kent, over to you.
Thanks, Cory. Thanks to Scoop News Group and Rubric for having me here and bringing all of our esteemed colleagues together. I'm a managing director at Deloitte. I focus on our government and public services clients, specifically our federal government going to market. I lead our technical resilience practice. So how do you prepare for and recover from a cybersecurity incident? And then prior to that, I had a 20-year career in the Navy delivering enterprise IT and cybersecurity services. Spent a little time as a federal agency CISO, and then spent some time in industry before coming back to serve our what I would say is our best clients, the U.S. government and all the agencies. Cory?
Awesome. Well, again, thank you all for being here. And we'll kick it off for a question for the group. AI is, there's an evergreen debate within the security community. Who does it benefit more, the attacker, the defender? And what I want to focus on in this question is AI is becoming more autonomous, and our adversaries, the attackers, are leveraging it more for reconnaissance at scale, malware generation, more convincing deep fakes. And as they're doing this, what do you think is the single most urgent security shift organizations can make in the next 12 to 18 months to prepare for this, to better defend against it? And Kent, let's start with you.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great question, Cory, because I think with AI and the discussion of AI is how do we better defend or how do we better counter an attack. I really think there's a fundamental shift of, especially in resilience, of just assuming that you are or you are or going to be breached. And it's moving with a huge focus of not just your defensive tactics, but really moving into how do you recover? How are you best prepared to respond and restore your services and better protect your data, because that is a fundamental shift of really moving resilience into an operational mindset and making it as equal to defensive and defensive operations in the market. That shift is going to really extend beyond just cyber and IT, but it's really a more intentional conversation with all of the business functions and all of the critical services that the federal government provides to its constituents.
That's outstanding. Neil, what do you have to say?
So you really like the way, Kent framed it. And it's such an interesting question that we could spend, a whole day on this instead of just the limited time we have. I'd like to maybe frame it, as a cultural issue where, we have to evolve our cyber processes from a what we call deterministic. We use machine learning models to try to figure out anomalies to a probabilistic, model that dynamically looks at risk at that given point in time. So, it's going to take a mind shift where, the we are no longer just looking at issues where we say the machine model says 6.8% versus 4.2, and therefore 6.8%, we're going to take that course of action. We'll really have to look at multiple things and have the humans make the judgment on what is the likely probability of something happening, from a cyber perspective. And that's going to take a lot more judgment that incorporates machine learning models, just doesn't stop at machine learning models. Thank you.
Yeah. And Matt, what are your thoughts?
Thank you, and I appreciate the question. I think the biggest one that I would kind of highlight, and my colleagues have highlighted wonderful ones. So I would say acceptance is understand it's here, understand that it's not going anywhere, and see how your organization can leverage it. The biggest one that I always kind of highlight is our number one asset in the government, in industry across the world is our people. Let's try to invest in them. Let's start getting them the knowledge base and the understanding of what AI can do, and start really giving them the tools and the background to be able to kind of defend against all of those adversarial attacks that are coming in. The adversary is not short on trying to get their people the most up-to-date content. So let's do the same on our side and really invest in our people. Thank you.
Yeah. It's always the carbon element of systems, the people that tend to make things work or not. So always worth the investment. Neil, I wanna circle to you, and I'm curious your thoughts. You've seen the U.S. government from multiple different perspectives. And how do you think about integrating AI into mission operations, and what guardrails should cybersecurity, safety, governance, how are all these being put into place as systems become more autonomous?
So, I'll probably start by saying I'm going to date myself here in that, I started my career in IT using Unix mainframes. So, and understanding, different mainframes actually had different sets of commands, and, just being able to find out what the root access or the admin access commands for that particular system were, you could do a lot more than just being on a terminal. And I say that to, talk about the way we are evolving our space, our operating systems, whether it's our endpoints or even, our cloud backend has become so complicated that a single misconfiguration could leave your systems wide open. It's the analogy I give is, you could put 4 locks on every one of your doors, but you forget to lock, close one of your windows. And, it doesn't matter what you do. And what happens with generative AI is, the generative adversarial models go door by door and they just try it once and they say it doesn't open, they move to the next door, and eventually they start looking at the windows and find a way in, as opposed to getting stuck on the first door trying to break lock by lock by lock. So when we look at how the federal government and the federal ecosystem has to respond to that, we really talk about going back to fundamentals, secure by design, not just security as an afterthought, zero trust, multi-factor authentication, and then other things such as, which we wouldn't think about before, but now are critical, agentic red teaming. How do you take federal CISOs and their teams and augment them with AI agents so they could do red teaming at scale? How do you work with your workforce so that we can counter social engineering, give them that manipulation training? And finally, for that integration aspect is really treating AI models and the foundational models and fit for use models as living learning systems, not just static models that do one thing that don't grow and evolve as you do. Thank you.
Yeah. Ken, that made me think about a lot of the AI driven attacks we see today. They aim to corrupt data or and do so with the intent of disrupting operations. I think I've spent a long time in the Department of War community targeting organizations for disruption. There's always an afterthought, like you're conducting a cyber operation to achieve an end state that is something in the exterior world. So you are disrupting an organization and you're just going about the best way to do that. Nowadays, data is becoming a ripe target to bring about. It's a means to that end of going after that data. And as we've seen in incidents like Salt Typhoon, the Salt Volt and Volt Typhoon, both affiliated with the PRC, are essentially giving resilience on attack systems to our energy grids, our telecoms. As we think through how AI-driven attacks are targeting data and how they're hitting key systems, how should organizations start rethinking about resilience and recoverability in this sort of new era in which we live?
Yeah, Cory, that's a great question. I think we've gotten to the advancement in cyber attacks that, especially a ransomware attack or any advanced attack, is APTs such as Salt and Volt Typhoon. They're looking for disrupting operations, or even the financial criminals are looking for stealing, removing data, and then making money off of it. When you move into the government services, data and operations are the foundation of why the government is there. So it's incumbent upon on the government, but all of the vendors that support the government, such as us, to protect the data and then maintain all of these critical constituent services. It's really key because that data is some of the most private, sensitive information of all of the citizens, but it's also key to uh, to making sure that our entire government is secure. So AI is coming along and it's making it faster and easier for all of these attacks. It's also executing, as back in the military days, you're going for an effect. And usually the easiest way is to take out the foundation. That's the easiest way to disrupt all of your operations is by taking away your information, blacking an adversary or a target out. So AI today is really enabling script kiddies to act like APTs and advanced adversaries. It's speeding up the rate and time of impact, and it's also making these impacts much more effective. It's allowing a lot of the attacks today, which have evolved into AD-based attacks and backup-based attacks, to really to really hamper operations. Because if you attack your Active Directory or what you use to log into a network, you can never get back to a backup or a point of restore to where you know it's safe to recover from. And even on some of the more important attacks is you're aging out your backup. So even if they haven't attacked your network and you can get in, you have no point a reference to it to recover from. And that's kind of the key is with like the Salt Typhoon attack and any of these others is you have to have a point to where you know you can safely recover from and know that you have that secure information and that secure data to restore your operations. That's why moving into resilience today is really focused on those two aspects and how do you actually protect and recover that information moving over. It moves your traditional recovery operations into active failover testing, and instead of just doing a traditional DR failover, try to get it done in a day and failing it back right over, you're not testing that infrastructure. We've typically done recovery operations through basic DR walkthroughs or paperwork exercises, and those recovery operations would take days, weeks. I think even today you're looking at months for recovery, and that is a big pivot of how do we actually recover quicker in hours, if not days, not weeks or months. That's going on. So the cyber programs today to counter that AI threat is you have to have a point to where you know you can recover from, and that you can restore your services. That moves the resilience programs today into, we'll call it into a cyber resilience state, but that cyber resilience attack, those that can withstand AD attacks and backup aging attacks and malware, they actually extend and make the entire IT program and the business program of the government more resilient. It's going to allow you to actively recover and test your recovery plans just because of the new technology and leveraging cloud and similar systems that's out there. It gives you those programs that can withstand the AD and backup attacks, just how they're designed, because you need something that you can log into that isn't dependent on your traditional IT infrastructure and ones that you can't age out. So it's on a secure platform. And it also gives you an environment to where you can do a clean room recovery. You can restore your network. You can go and find, is my data secure? Do I know where my attack started? And then can I stop it and isolate it? Because most traditional attacks in some localities, they were attacked and the 911 system was down. They would recover it, and then the next day, immediately, it's right back in and re-encrypted because you haven't isolated it properly. But you do that, and then it extends your resilience program not just in cyber, but in IT and your business operations. So you can now hunt against it. You can now run detections and SOC operations off of your backup and recovery solutions, which I would tell you 5, 10 years ago, you would never think to do that. It's data and services that are locked away in a different program and never to see it until you need to test it. All of this together makes resilience move into an operational mindset. It drives efficiency by bringing organizations closer together. You start breaking down legacy silos of IT programs, and it gives you the technology and the processes to adapt to modern and evolving threats.
Ken, those are fantastic insights, and it really I think speaks to one side of an equation that Matt, I would like to ask you about the other side, but let me contextualize that a little bit by what I mean. we're living in an era where the current administration wants to accomplish peace through strength. That's kind of one of the mottos there. And to achieve strength, American strength, it's typically been viewed in one of two ways. You can have deterrence by denial. And Kent, you spoke a lot to that. Like if you can recover, if you're resilient, you could get right back to mission. You have denied an adversary their intended consequence. So that is one form of strength. Another form of strength that is being talked about more and more right now is the ability to project cyber power, and that's typically in the form of offensive cyberspace capabilities. There is a monopoly that the state holds on violence today, in the legal use of it, and for cyber attack capabilities that typically falls to the Department of War. And so when we think about offensive posture and increasing the offensive capabilities of the United States of America, and we're doing that in the context of the age of AI, how should we be thinking about workforce roles and not maybe just like talent acquisition, because maybe talent looks different, but also talent development, as we meet the demands for greater capability in our offensive um, uh, skill sets and capabilities as a country. So, Matt, over to you.
No, I appreciate the question. Definitely very good in the sense of in this current landscape, with especially not even just the Department of War, but across the U.S. How to kind of treat what AI is ultimately bringing it. As you mentioned before, our adversaries are leveraging this in a ability to kind of replicate so quick the attacks and what would normally take months to develop scripts and attacks and all those areas. They're doing it in seconds now because of AI, and it can replicate so quickly. So we need to take more of a proactive threat management type approach, where we actually just move beyond reactive defense, understand their threat intelligence, understand AI vulnerabilities, look at the background and the history, and be able to kind of exercise those stimulated AI enabled attacks to be able to better understand what is ultimately coming at us. Um, then we also need to use kind of AI, you have offensive capabilities, defensive capabilities for things like threat hunting or automated security tasks, deployments of deception, all of those areas that ultimately can be conducive to finding a proactive adversary, making sure they're not in our space, they're not attacking our infrastructures, and kind of doing our due diligence to make sure that we're ready. As you mentioned with workforce, how do you do that? You need to really prioritize those training programs for those people that are ultimately not only developing the tools of AI that are going to be able to kind of replicate that threat detection, that vulnerability assessments, those types of capabilities, but also how you can mitigate. I've always seen in operations that no operations or no effects, no attacks ultimately go as planned. You need to be able to adapt as you're going through it, and our people are the ones that ultimately are able to do it. They're the ones to kind of be able to react to how the adversary is coming in, and being able to shift the overall importance and being able to defend our networks. And then I'll kind of highlight some of those things from a broader perspective. Things like continuous learning, collaboration. Our industry partners or academic partners, they have a lot of history, a lot of background of capability in the AI, and they tend to be able to stay ahead of the game and evolving kind of AI threat landscape. So not only in the government, but all industry partners need to collaborate, need to come together and start really bringing those expertise together to understand what the playing field looks like now with AI kind of coming into it. And I will always promote this from the government because it's one of the hardest things, but we need to attract and retain the best talent out there. We need to be the employer of choice inside of this workforce to understand the mission and be able to bring cyber professionals or AI professionals or developers into the arena, give them the ability, the tools, the resources to really grow in their profession and start really kind of being an expert in AI and machine learning. It's a wonderful mission set, and I think we can definitely kind of move in that direction. But it's a lot of areas inside of the workforce that we need to kind of tackle. And people, back to my original point of acceptance, need to understand it's here. So we just need to kind of start moving in that direction. Thank you.
Yeah. Matt, that's super insightful. And I think just as we start to wrap up here, Neil, I'll turn it over to you. What does resilience look like when AI attacks are adaptive, they're fast, they're difficult to attribute? How should organizations prepare to recover to a trustworthy or a known state after an AI-driven compromise?
No, that's such a great question, and it goes back to your organizational processes and your whether or not you're exercising your organization's ability to evolve when there isn't a crisis. So, specifically getting back to a trustworthy state means identifying people in your organization who know what a trustworthy state in your organization looks like before you have a trust issue. So that's what I would say is identifying key personnel that can help you navigate back to a known good state. Thank you.
Neil, that's fantastic. So and Ken, I'm going to turn it over to you. Neil talked a little bit about trustworthy state from an organizational design and a people perspective. Maybe hit on what it could mean from a data or a systems perspective.
Yeah, great question. And I think Neil really hit it on the head. Is you have to have a system that is trustworthy in design, that does protect your data and sustain operations. I mean, not just because Rubrik is that sponsor, but those platforms that are like Rubrik that can withstand AD-based attacks and withstand aging attacks from your backups are key to achieve that known state, that known trustworthy state. It needs to be a platform that can integrate into all of your business operations, all across all of cyber and IT and the workforce. And really, it needs to be a system that's designed with all of the archetypes in which we're working toward, like zero trust and integrated operations. But most importantly, it's really got to be easy to use. And I think as I'm certain Matt will expand on, is you have to have a platform that the staff want to be able to use and that is easy for everyone to use to make everything effective and move resilience and recovery from that last action you take into something you look forward toward in your planning and testing in day-to-day operations.
That's an excellent insight. If it's not easy to use, folks won't. You could have the best capability in the world, but if it's complicated, you gotta have people be able to use it to leverage it, and easily integrate it. So, Matt, over to you. What are your thoughts?
No, I appreciate it, and I totally agree with both Neil and Kent in the areas of where we need to go, and that's one of those things of getting our workforce not only trained in it and have the ability in it, but also buy into it, and they need to ultimately understand the capability of where we're going with AI. What is the strategic view? What is the landscape of where we need to go? We need to communicate, be transparent with them and leverage it to all extent. People get very defensive when AI is brought up. They think it possibly is taking over jobs. It's replacing individuals. I look of it as we just need to upskill our workforce. We need to get them more knowledgeable in this arena, and then be able to leverage AI to be more adaptive, more skilled, and be able to respond at a much quicker rate. Because our adversary is ultimately attacking us on a daily, if not second, hourly rate. So we need to be more fluid in our abilities and start really kind of being taking to the attack to them. So our workforce, I will always advocate, is our number one asset in this arena. I said it numerous times during this brief. So just need to be able to kind of get them the skills and the tools to be able to be successful. Thank you.
Matt, thank you. Kent, Neil, thank you to Rubrik and Scoop News Network. Thank you for putting on this and pulling together this incredible panel. It was an honor to host it. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.